Okay guys, welcome to my channel. This is making this video on the Harbor Freight / Tractor Supply / Chinese tire manual tire changer. And this isn't to try and outdo any of the rest of the guys that did a review on these, but I have some valuable information in addition to what the other guys have already done or explained. Basically, the machine works awesome, but it requires a couple modifications. I'll explain a little bit on what I did to make it work better. This guy here is your demounting side, and also I'll show you how to do an aluminum wheel with this too without causing any damage. Okay, so what I did was basically try and sharpen up this ramp a little bit as your starter. This is what has to actually, and I'll show you in a second, but it has to pull the tire out from over the other side. And you don't want the highest lip possible. You got to start it and leave it in a nice gentle shape. So basically I just, took some 80 grit on a grinder and did that. The mounting side, very important as well. You'll see if you compare this one to the one you get, the casting is just very barbaric, and it definitely needs some fine tuning. This is the rimming side. This is the side that puts it on. And basically, you're starting the tire off high, and you've got to push it down below the wheel as this pit here rides on the top of the wheel. So with that said, it's already too thick. It was out to like here. So you don't need all this. You're trying to stretch the tire more than you need to, and that's half the problem. And I'll show you actually what I'm putting on here is a Load Range E tire on a 14-inch wheel. So you want to talk about a tire to stretch over a rim, that would be the one with the amount of plies that it has. It's a pretty heavy-duty tire, but I'll show you how well it does work after this modification. So you're trying to get the tire bead to come across and down. So you need to shape this gully out to facilitate that to go downhill. And one of them was this ramp was so high, it just kept popping the bead off. So it made it extremely miserable. And what this does now is it makes it so much easier. So I just did one rim here. And I'm actually changing tires out here and going to be refinishing these wheels. These are off a 14-inch old early Ranger. So, and then a couple other things I did. People will mount these to the to a pallet, to the actual concrete floor. Mine is mounted to the concrete floor, but it's not permanently because shop space is so critical where I do my work here that I needed some other options. So what I did, guys, without getting into too much detail, and you can get creative on it, these are, what are these? These aren't half-inch. I want to say they're 7/16 14 thread pitch bolts. Either way, get whatever bolt you want. And what I did was I used a big Hilti hammer drill, and I cored down into the floor probably about an inch and a half circle. So I cored out 4 circle spots where these are going to go. I put the nuts on the bolts already, okay? Use this thing as an actual jig. I greased up the bolts, and I greased up, not the nuts, just the bolts and the threads with a little bit of grease. Don't go crazy. And all I did was I filled a non-shrink grout, like a high PSI strength grout. You can get them at a lot of building supplies. I think maybe even Lowe's or Home Depot or one of those will have those. But use very little water. It's like a self-consolidating grout. I know a lot of concrete supply places have that stuff. So what I did was I poured it in the holes, and then I set this whole unit down in there so that these were all perfectly in line, and jiggled them around. And then I let it cure. So my nuts were actually cured down into that plug or that cavity by the non-shrink grout. So then when I let it, a day or two happen, and I was able to back my bolts out because they were held in by grease, I got those out of there. And then I had to shave. I didn't want to trip on the extra grout that came out, so I used like a Scarifier, which is like a grinding, a 4.5-inch grinding wheel for masonry, basically. And I ground it nice and flat. So what I have now, and I just use a 3/4-inch ratchet to take these out. And then when I'm all done, I've got these little cap plugs that I throw on the floor, and I'll throw a piece of duct tape over them just so that they don't but I can run the jack over this now. I can park a bike here. I can do whatever I want to do without having this thing in the way. But I'll tell you one thing. You do pull on this guy quite a bit when you're using it. So your typical pallet, you know, you can do what you want, but it's having this bolted to a concrete floor is ultimately the way to go. Unless, of course, you had something outside. I was thinking about making a little pad outside. Put this on outside, no problem. You can. Who cares if it's snowing out? You can still do your tire if you need to, you know. And this device here doesn't look like it'll go anywhere soon as far as rotting away. So let me grab a wheel for you, and I'm going to show you now the derimming process of it. Okay. So anyway, what I do always is I have a little soap water mixture. Basically, it's more water than it is soap. And all that's to do is facilitate your demounting. Any little bit you can do to help yourself here, why not? You don't want to cut the tire or screw it up or whatever. So, in this case, I don't care. But I also made a little set of pliers here with a little tooth on it and left the other side the way it is. And what this does is gets my weights off. See, it grabs in that little hole, so you don't really need to buy a weight set of pliers for the weights. Okay, so I'm good on this side. I'm good on that side. All right. So now you want to break your bead, and ultimately I haven't had a problem. I've broken 16-inch beads, all kinds of stuff with this, and I haven't had a problem. Hopefully my camera tripod system's not in the way. Now the inside's a little bit tougher. Sometimes you may have to work it around. There she goes. Alright. Believe it or not, your smaller wheels tend to be your hardest ones because there's very little stretch in the tire itself. Okay. Now obviously you want to protect your wheel. This gets a trim ring, so I don't care about this edge. You don't want to scratch up. You know, think about what you're doing before you do it so you don't scratch up your wheels. And these are getting refinished too, so. Also, there's different configurations with leverage here. You'll find, I think I did 16-inch last time. I actually wanted it way out here. But for this particular tire and the size of the wheel, I needed to put it in that position, so don't be afraid to try those different positions. I could actually do a whole other segment on the aluminum wheel, but I'll explain briefly what I did to do that tire in here. So there's your little hold down, your alignment pin, which keeps your rim from kind of spinning. You'll see it doesn't work the greatest, but it has to be, you know, keep that thing greased up here too. Anyway, this has to move around, obviously, for your different size wheels. You put a little tension on it like that. Now, this is where I said I had my ramp. It was nice and sharp. Well, not totally sharp, but it came down to a finer point. Very important. You want to get your tire into the pit here. This is what they call the pit, or the center of the rim. It's deeper in this way. It's going to help you pull the tire bead over that way to get it off. So, push down. Get her in there like that. Make sure she's ready to go. I bring it up and over. So you can see where it's starting shallow and it rides high. The reason why this comes off is because you're riding higher than you started with. So now that I'm in my pit on this side, just pull it around. Oops. 1 second. There we go. And you always got to keep this tool under. And that was my fault for not doing that initially. Just kind of got to give it a little bit of pressure on the inside. Come down in here, get your other bead caught, lift it up. Hopefully you guys can see that, see what I'm doing. Okay, same thing, tires in the pit on this side, and just run your tool around. Now that soap water just helped me take this tire off without cutting the bead or what have you. Alright, so that's that. The aluminum wheel, I'll show you what I did for that. Basically, for the aluminum wheel, I wasn't able to put this down on top of the tire. excuse me, the rim because I didn't want to scratch the finish of the paint job. The rim also had an extreme backspace, but it's okay. But what I did was, I took this thing, and I'll show you, I keep a little bag of all these oddball devices here. But I've got these super thick pads of rubber. I laid those down on the rim. And I think because the rim had a taper like this, I put this thing upside down, let it sit the 4 pads. But it was enough to push pressure down onto that clear coat and not scratch it at all. So made sure this was clean, make sure that's clean, make sure your rim's clean, put it in there. That tightened down on my aluminum wheel, and I was good to go. Now you say, what about the drag bar? Now I didn't use this tool to take the tires off the aluminum wheels, and I would have had to make a protector for this. And what that consists of is nylon. But I did just take a piece of flat nylon. You can get this stuff anywhere, McMaster car, doesn't matter, any place. But basically I just heated it up. This is crazy. Covered over that just to cover this pit that rides along your rim surface. I just put nylon here, tape it, just like this, but it stays. And basically, as I brought my tire around for the rimming process, the nylon was riding on the clear coat. So when I got done, I didn't affect the clear coat at all. I did leave a little nylon behind on the clear coat, but that's able to just wipe right off with some cleaner wax or whatever, and I'm done. And this thing, I don't know how many miles you'll get out of it, but you may have to make another one. But there you go. I didn't need this fancy machine that spins your rim and holds the tire. You know what I'm saying? I used this, and it worked flawlessly. So that's my tidbit on that. I'll show you the re-rimming the tire next. So you take your little wrench here and tighten that down. All right, now the next thing to do, and what I do is, with this machine, every little bit helps. Find that this stuff's really good. It's called Euro Paste. It is a tire lube. All right, change the camera here so I want you guys to see a little bit better. But tire lube. Tire lube is very important. People don't think so. But tire lube actually, just like lubing up an O-ring when you put a shaft in or something, it helps that O-ring find its home. And takes any like sticking deviations out of the mix. This stuff you gotta kind of work it a little bit. You'll find it comes to life. Euro Paste. See, it really comes out nice if you work it around a little. So yeah, so it just helps, you know, your whole deal sit in. And I've also seen on commercial tires, big truck tires, that this stuff actually helps in demounting the tire several years down the road even, because it still remains there for some reason, I don't know. But I've actually seen the paste still in there, or whatever particular brand was on it. So lube it up really good. Alright, put it back down. Okay, now the moment you've been waiting for. Well, I'm also going to put a little bit right here. Okay. What I want to do is, and I could actually move this tire later, but the trick with this is now to get this side down in the pit, and this is important because I'm going to show you what it looks like now. Zoom in here because you guys got to see this. That's what you're doing. Remember how I told you the tire is riding across and down? It's going to be riding across and down and underneath the wheel. So you put this side of the rim, this side of the bead is down in this part of the rim, your lowest spot, to help you out. And you definitely need to do that. Okay, so here we go. The camera's probably going to be in my way about midway, but you have to hold the tire and basically just drag this around. And I'm going to move here. Hopefully not take out my Canon XA10. Okay. Now this is a, could use a little more lube. I hear it starting to pop a little. I don't like that. This is a D-rated tire. on a 15-inch wheel, like I was telling you. So it's pretty nutty. See some dust in there too. Forgive me, folks. I'm just gonna clean up my act here a little bit. All right. You can help work it under, but okay. So there you have it. This side will be a little bit better for you. Show you what I mean. I think what's actually hemming me up, because I had mounted this tire earlier before I decided to refinish the wheels, but my paint is very, very grabby right now. It's brand new. Alright, so here we go. Get that part situated on there. Remember, you're crossing under. Sometimes it helps to use your knee to make sure she goes down that pit as far as possible. And you'll see now, without cutting the tire, it works perfectly. So now that was actually, a little difficult to do. So if you didn't have this shaved out as much as you can, the harder that's going to be for you guys to get it on there. And this could actually come down a little bit more. I mean, I could probably almost get rid of another 1/4 of an inch over there and have it even work better, but whatever. Now, of course, if you're trying to set a bead, you'd use your bead blaster right now. You'd have your core removed, but this Euro paste helps me seal so well that it's just going to pop right into place without any stressing the wheel. And you got to be careful, because when these set, obviously make sure your rim is stamped the right size for the right tire and all that jazz. So then, obviously I still use a remote fill type deal, but you'll see that she won't even stress. And there's not even about 5 pounds in it, not even. Yeah, it's still soft. So there she goes. Obviously that was the paint too. I'm going to check the other side. No, the other side's already even set, so she didn't even squawk. But I use a fill device set to the proper PSI. In this case, this tire is like 65. And I load the crap out of this truck. That's why I'm going with these tires. So I actually run them about 60. Way overkill for the weight of the truck, but not for what I put in the back. So there you have it. Hopefully this video helped you guys a little bit. Thanks for visiting my channel, and subscribe and like it if you like it. Goodbye.